Welcome to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore all kinds of things, stories about quilting, tools, field trips, maybe some famous quilters stop by, and, of course, a little bit of copyright thrown in just for fun. I'm Elizabeth Townsend Guard. I'm a law professor at Tulane University, and I just want to quilt. So today we have Stacy Sharman and Kristen Takakua of Hello Stitch Studio, which is located in Berkeley, California. It's a makerspace for sewers and quilters, and they tell us all about it. How do you know each other?
Our kids were in the same kindergarten class.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's craziness. And how long ago was that?
10 years ago, I think. They're 15 now, so that's probably 10 years ago.
And so are you co-owners of Hello Stitch Studio, or what is Hello Stitch Studio, and sort of what's your relationship with that and each other?
Hello Stitch is a community makerspace that's based on sewing machines. So in the Bay Area, we've had a lot of technology kind of maker spaces that are a little more engineering focused, and ours is a little softer and fuzzier and mostly around sewing machines. We have some cool machines that people get very excited about, not just regular sewing machines, but it's just a little softer bit of a maker space, and we have classes and teach people how to sew.
So how did it all come about?
Well, we actually have a third partner. There's three of us that own the business. It's myself, Kristen, and our third partner, Terry Carpenter. Mm-hmm. And it was actually Terry's idea. She had been doing long arm quilting in her house, and she wanted to expand and move out of her house, get a bigger, better long arm quilting machine. And I also had a quilting machine in my living room.
Yeah, I get it.
And we'd all work together through the East Bay Modern Quilters to put on a show that we did every year, Stitch Modern. So we all kind of knew our working styles, and it kind of just evolved from there. It started with kind of a little crazy seed of an idea, and it just grew.
Okay, so tell me my biggest question is funding. So you live in a kind of expensive space. Like, Berkeley is not an inexpensive place. Membership is fairly, it's not super. I mean, I'm at a co-working space in the afternoons where my kid is, and I'm paying ridiculous amount to sit on a couch every day. People are used to that. But sort of when you thought about this, like, what was your next step in terms of like finding the building? The whole thing, it's a lot to take on.
Well, I mentioned we'd been doing this show every year, and it was a month-long quilt show, and we had been doing it with zero budget. So I think we kind of had this idea that we could just make stuff happen.
Yeah.
So everything is, we're scrappy. Exactly. We're scrappy. So it was all self-funded. We did get a loan to buy our long arm quilting machine, but other than that, it's all self-funded, and so far it's going well.
Yeah. Did you? I have really stupid practical questions. So we put in an application to the university, which we haven't heard back from. But there was a real question of like, should we rent or should we buy a space? Did you have that kind of question as well when you were looking at sort of the benefits of those two things?
I think
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, in the beginning, it wasn't really an option to buy for us.
Because you were scrappy and had no resources.
Yeah, we just didn't have.
Yeah, that's what we are too. We're totally scrappy. I think we've like $30 at the moment. So it's like, no, we have more than that. But we sold like some t-shirts yesterday, so we're kind of excited. Okay, so you have the space. So how did you find the space? Like, I'm trying to understand sort of the process of, you got the idea for a sewing space, so it gets the equipment out of your house, which will make your families happy. And you start to look for spaces. Are you just driving around Berkeley going, hey, that would be a good space? Or like, how did that happen in terms of the process of getting it to where it is?
Yes, we drove around looking at a lot of spaces. So it's kind of hard to get a commercial real estate. We've discovered is totally a different ballgame than housing real estate. Yeah. So just even getting brokers to get back to us if you don't already have a business established is a little tricky. Yeah, because again, we're in the Bay Area and everything is kind of crazy here. Yeah. So we would look we even looked on Craigslist. So, but we would look, there's a website called LoopNet that we looked at a lot.
Yeah. You looked at, that's like for commercial spaces.
Right. So we looked at, and I think that's actually how we ended up finding our space, and it kind of seemed out of our price range, but I went ahead and called the broker, just say, kind of left him a message saying what it was that we did, kind of not really expecting much of a response from him. And he called back right away and he was like, "You sound perfect."
Really?
And that's what we ended up getting. Yeah.
And how much space, because see, I grew up in the Bay Area. So space and in real estate is really expensive right there where you are. So how much space were you looking for? Because I think what we're seeing is that we need a lot of space because like the equipment's a lot and people need space to move around. You want it to be comfortable, but space is expensive. So like how big is your space and what were you looking for when you were looking for space?
Kristen, do you remember? Is it 1,500 square feet that we have or is it 2,000? I think it's 2,000.
It's 2,000. And we were looking for, I feel like we were looking for closer to like 1,200. And I mean, we walked in this space and we all immediately loved it. But Terry and I were like, we can't afford this. This is 2,000.
In Berkeley. That much room. In Berkeley. Like I can't even imagine. That's got to be a lot of money. So
we were super scared and Stacy's like, no, we have to get this. It's perfect, So it was a little bit, it's scary to pull the trigger on that.
With a commercial lease, do you have to pay month to month or do you do it by the year? Like how much, and then are you using for the rent, the membership? Like how much membership how did you get this all working so you didn't feel like, oh, I just now put a huge burden of a lease on our families?
We went into it thinking, oh, I just put a huge burden of a lease on our family.
You did. Yeah, I get it.
I think we were always just thinking, okay, we have this crazy idea. We're going to see how it works. If it doesn't work, we'll pivot and do something else. Because again, then we'd be holding space in Berkeley. And like you said, there's, like you said, you pay a lot of money to sit on a sofa with so we figured we could figure out something if our idea didn't work out.
Turn it into something else because that's not terrible.
But that's another thing. Oh, I was just going to answer your question about the lease terms. And that's another thing about, I don't know if it's just our area, but they don't even want to see you if you're not considering at least a 2-year lease.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you had to commit to a 2-year lease on a brand new thing now, did you do research on how many of these are out there, these sort of sewing maker spaces? And were you afraid of failing?
Everyone's always afraid of failing.
I know. I mean, maybe you were like, we are perfect and we will never fail. Like maybe you were like so confident because you're like, I've made 700 businesses. And
no, I don't think that was I think we just really believed in our vision. And it was one of those like field of dreams things. If we build it, they will come.
And did they?
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Tell me about membership. How did you find your members? How did you figure out your price point? It's do most people do the $65 a month fee? Is that what most people are doing? Imagine.
That is what most people are doing, but we do have people that'll, drop in and just do a thing because they don't have a sewing machine at home. We have a pretty nice relationship with the local fabric store called Stone Mountain and Daughter. And, I was working one weekend and this college student, I said, how'd you hear about us? And she said, I was at the store and I said, do you rent sewing machines by the hour? And they said, no, but go see Hello Stitch. And she came straight over with her stuff and just sat down and did her thing. So
amazing. And you've got the daily rate of $25 too. So people don't have to commit. And that's 10 hours. That's a lot. That's a lot of time for 10 hours. I mean, a lot of people are renting like $20 an hour to do. Now, does that include what does that include? If I come in to your shop and I'm like a daily member, does that mean I can use a long arm or a sewing machine, or like what do I get for that money?
The long arm is a separate deal. You have to take a class and be certified, and then it's an hourly rate for the long arm.
Got it.
But in the studio, anything in the studio, from the big cutting tables, which people really love, the design walls, the tools.
Yeah.
We always have basic threads. It's all there.
The threads are included so that way you don't have to keep rethreading the sewing machines, right? Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you use I have so many questions for you. Do you use a particular thread company, or like how do you decide what thread you have in your spaces?
We just, we let people bring their thread too. We're not picky. So how do we decide? I think
you don't have like a relationship with a thread company.
No.
Have thread.
Yeah.
Have thread. Thread's not a big deal.
As long as the sewing machines don't mind it, we'll try anything.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
But if a thread company wants to get in touch with us and reach out and make a relationship, I'll take that.
Totally.
We'll talk to them.
It's true. Any thread companies out there. Tell me about the sewing machine sales. Do you see that as part of your business plan to sort of be selling sewing machines? Is that part of the revenue generating part of your business?
Definitely. It's not like, I feel like we have a lot of different streams of revenue. So that was kind of important to have as many different, things, balls in the air. So it wasn't our original business plan though. So we kind of it's one of those things that also just evolved. So we sell Genomes and we sell the Innova long arms.
And then are Genomes the only machines you have in your shop? Are you exclusive Genomes in the sewing, or do you have all kinds of other things as well?
We have a few other things because they came with us. We each had, some of us had a small collection of sewing machines. Some of us had a little bit bigger collection of sewing machines. Yeah. So we brought with us the machines that were in our homes, and those aren't always Janome. But all the new machines that we have are Genomes.
Got it. And tell me about your other revenue streams. What does a business like this look like?
Okay, Kristen, go.
So there's the long arm, and one of the things that we provide is quilt service. And that was Terry's big, her expertise. And then Stacy also is good with the long arm. So we knew that there would be a place for us in the market for long arming because we use the computerized patterns, and it's a fairly low price point. So
people are dropping off you're doing the long arming for them. You have a long arming business inside the shop.
Right.
Okay.
And then with that, we can do bindings, and we can do, what else do we add on to that? Some construction, we're working on an auction quilt right now. So there's that. And then along with that, long arm was like, well, I want to learn how to long arm, and I've always wanted to know how to use a long arm. So we teach people to use the long arm. We also rent it out. Because it's one of those things that you can't afford.
Yeah, you can't.
Most people can't afford to have one in their living room, or their families would say, no, you can't put that in my living room.
Right. We have a partial.
Yeah.
We got a partial donation of one, and it's taking up way too much space. It's just.
Yeah. So there's that revenue streams. Then we have the memberships, which is, it's nice to have at least that cushion of the monthly members that we know that revenue is always coming in.
Right. And now, do you feel like that's like your base? Like the membership allows you to pay the rent, like that you're covered? Is that kind of the idea with the membership?
That was our original idea, but I don't think that's quite the case. I don't think we have enough members.
We do right now, actually, I think.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah. We've reached that goal. So
That's
so
exciting.
At first that wasn't how it was happening, but now I believe that is the goal.
And, how long have you guys been open? How long did it take to get to that, like membership covers rent or covers cost? that pretty much the same thing?
I would say that took like about 9 months to a year.
That's not bad. That's amazing, right?
Yeah, I believe that's
really
about right.
Were you nervous until that happened?
I'm still nervous.
Because but we like right away, I didn't feel, after we put in our initial amount that we put in towards the business, we haven't had to go back into our pocketbooks. So that really was great. What I was worried about.
Yeah. That's huge. That's really cool. You also have exhibit space. Tell me a little bit about that. Right now you have Sherry Lynn Woods exhibits. Is that right?
Yes.
And we interviewed her. She's really cool. And she's local, right? Is she local? No.
She lives in Oakland.
Yeah. So tell me about that part of the business, the exhibits.
I think it was important to all of us to kind of start to showcase quilts maybe in a different way than people were used to. Not everybody, the people in our immediate community knew about how exciting quilts could be, but I think a lot of people still think of them as that boring thing on the bed that my grandmother made.
Yeah.
And really, if they took a closer look, probably it's not so boring.
Yeah.
So what we try and put on the walls is things that'll make people interested in working with fabric in an artistic way and a creative way.
Right. And you've got really cool people. So that's really cool. Okay. Other revenue streams? That's not really that. I mean, there's a revenue stream in the sense that there's some of their work are for sale through your website.
Right.
And you take a percentage of that stuff. Are you just a conduit, or are you taking a percentage of the sales?
We act like we're not a traditional gallery, but we act in the same way as a gallery. So while it's on the wall, if it sells from our wall, then there's a percentage that we take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Other shops. So you've got sewing machine sales, fabric. Do you sell a little bit of fabric in your shop as well? Just like
a tiny bit, a little bit.
Huge.
No,
you've got machine quilting skill builder fabric panel. That's cool.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So you can use that on the long arm or sit down machine, free motion. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool. And did you guys design it, or did you find it?
We did not. Yeah. I found it. It was a product that I used when I was first learning how to long arm. So I remembered it from back then and thought that would be cool to get. Yeah.
That's really great. It's huge. Is it huge?
It's not huge. It's like, it would probably be baby quilt size when it was finished. It's probably, you know what? It's probably a yard. So a yard, 36 by 42.
Oh my gosh. I'm so ordering this. So it's so cool because it gives you the lines to practice on the different techniques. The thing that I'm having trouble with, because we do have a long arm, is my curves look crappy no matter what I do. I can't quite figure out how to make them look nice. Like the feathers are coming along, but like the loops, Really?
Because it's not usually the case. Usually loops are easier than feathers. If you're doing feathers, okay, then you're on the right track.
I know. Yeah, it's weird. It's okay. There's a lot of self-doubt. Okay, what are the revenue streams? Teaching, classes. You have classes, camps, all that kind of traditional stuff.
Right.
And then from there, so how much percentage is your monthly the membership? What kind of percentage is that of your business, do you think, at this point? Is that hard to say?
Terry is our accounting. The person that's not here on this call is our accounting person, so she would know those stats better.
All right, so let's move on to a different aspect of it. Tell me about the community, because that's kind of what we're saying to the school, which is we want to build a community, a place like that people can hang out, and that's really important. Is that an important part of your business model and your experience?
I think so. I would say it's the keystone to our business model, right, Kristen?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be a lot easier on all of us if we just had classes and just opened the studio up for classes, but we really made a commitment to just be available for people pretty much, we're open Wednesday through Sunday for 10 hours each day, and on Tuesdays we're open for members. So we're open 6 days a week, and it's if there weren't 3 of us, we wouldn't be able to do it this way. I would say, but the community it's very rewarding. Yeah.
All right. So things that you didn't expect. I asked somebody who has a quilt retreat what they didn't expect, and they said that they have to rake the beach that's by it more often than they thought. So she's like, I spent a lot of time raking the beach. What did you find in terms of this business that you didn't expect to be doing? Like, is there any unexpected things?
Hmm.
No beach involved.
We have no beaches. We do have some sidewalks. We have to sweep the sidewalk.
You do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't anything totally out of.
I don't.
Yeah, it's all pretty. It seems pretty straightforward. It doesn't seem like there's anything weird. Although you guys have classes on how to sew on leather, like you guys do all kinds of stuff. This is so cool. You're like, it's not just about quilting; it's about all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, no. Quilting is actually, although we have turned a lot of our people who came in to start sewing garments, we've turned a lot of them into quilters. But I would say, as far as the three of us go, we all were very into quilting, and I think we've kind of. It's possible that we sew more clothes now, wouldn't you say, Kristen?
I think so. I mean, because the clothes are faster to get through, for me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you need a good space for doing that. So having a nice big space that's clean and not cluttered to do all of that makes a lot of difference.
Well, everything like the sergers and the cover stitch machine. And I mean, we have all this equipment that I didn't have at my fingertips when I was at home.
Now, do you see people using this as an entrepreneurial space that they're coming to sew and they're selling the stuff they're making, or is it all personal use?
I think mostly personal use right now, which I find a little surprising. I think I was expecting more people from the handmade maker community that sell things to take advantage of the machines that we have. Occasionally we do have people that'll come in and use some of our specialty machines for things that they sew. But mostly it's for personal use and people who are just making things creatively. I think those are the people that they really want to like have a creative outlet, and it's a good safe space for that.
And what's the people who are coming to this space? Like, do you have is it all over the map? Is it a certain genre of people? Like, who's coming to, who's your customer base?
What do you think, Kristen?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that. I guess, well, for one thing, because we met in the Quilt Guild and that was our community.
Yeah.
I expected that our community would be centered around quilting, and I was actually quite surprised about how many garment makers were drawn to us. So that was one thing that was interesting and surprising. But in terms of like the demographic, I think there's a couple of different things happening, which is there's parents who have, maybe they're stay-at-home parents or they have very flexible work schedules. They take care of the kids, pick up kids from school. So during the day, they have blocks of time that they can come and use the space, as Stacy was just saying, for creative space. And then we have another demographic, which is, I think, sort of an older community, people who are looking for company, who, sewing and quilting can be so isolating, right? You sit at home and you do your little thing, and it's fun, but it's a little bit lonely. So we have some of these sort of older women who like to come and be social. So it's sort of a couple different things. Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, I just think this is so cool. I want to come visit you at some point because I just think it's fantastic. What about social media? How important is your blog and social media to the building of the business? Why are you laughing?
Well, because our blog really could have a lot more. I think of ideas for our blog all the time, and I just don't get around to putting it actually on the blog.
Awesome. I feel like blogs, like it's just maybe I'm a fail. I mean, I have to blog for work sometimes, but I just feel like you gotta have a blog mentality. So tell me social media. What do you guys do for social media? How important is it?
I think it's been really important for putting the word out about the fact that we exist. We haven't spent too much money advertising outside of that. And I feel like our market really is on Instagram and Facebook, for better or worse. So those are the two that we focus on, is Instagram and Facebook.
Do you see a difference in Instagram versus Facebook? How are you using those differently? Are you using them the same way or differently?
The same way, but probably if we were really going to up our game, we would use Facebook differently. I think we get the most engagement we get is on Instagram.
Interesting.
And yeah, exactly. I don't know if that's the area we live in. I know my sister lives on the other side of the country, and around her, it's all about Facebook. I feel like here, the sewing community is all on Instagram.
Very interesting. Super interesting. Well, I just totally adore you. I just can't wait. We interviewed somebody who came to your studio, and you've inspired her to finish her quilt, which is, I think you know her.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Yes, she's hysterical. I find her very funny. So anything else that we should know? If you do, you're kind of a tourist spot, I would imagine too. So if people are in your area, you're in Berkeley. So if you're in Berkeley or Oakland area and you're visiting, you can do a day pass and go visit, right? I mean, that would be also.
Yes. Well, they can always come by and check out the space in the gallery. They don't even have to. They can just come and see the space. If they want to sew, then they get to be a daily member.
I am so excited. Now, do you know of others out there? Is there like a network of these sewing maker spaces, or have you found others like you?
There are others like us.
We haven't networked with them. No.
Except for, there's a weaving studio. We're friends with the owner of the Fiber Circle studio up in the North Bay area. So, but she's more weaving and knitting based.
But around the country, you haven't have you reached out to others doing this, or you just kind of do it the way you wanted to do it and thought about what you want and just sort of made your own model for this?
We kind of did it the way we wanted to do it, but yeah, we should make a network, because I'm sure that we all face the same sorts of
send them your way. So, this is just so psyched. Your space looks so beautiful, and it's so cool. You just are cool. I really appreciate you coming and chatting.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, cool. Chris, are beyond awesome. I'm so excited. I hope that I come see you, or some of the Quilting Army. What we call ourselves, our group, our mass group of ridiculousness. They come visit you. It's so very cool. Thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
So this is Elizabeth Townsend Guard. You've been listening to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School. We want to hear from you. Join our army, our quilting army. Go to our Facebook page. Suggest people